Sonic is a franchise that means a lot to me. The games and the shows have been present throughout my childhood, and I remember watching Sonic X on Saturday mornings and playing Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, which, mind you, is actually pretty good on the Wii. In short, I loved everything Sonic, and I've seen the franchise evolve over the many years where I've been a fan of it, with good titles such as Generations to okay titles such as Lost World, and playing the worst demo of a game that I've ever played in my entire life, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Giving Boom some credit though, Sonic Boom had a good TV show. So when Sonic Forces was announced with its cool trailer, I was excited, but that excitement quickly turned into caution. Hardly any gameplay was shown, and just most of it was CGI cutscenes. Was I falling for the Sonic cycle? Not this time, Sega. I had Mania to think about, so no, I actually did forget about Sonic Forces for a few years, until I decided to pick it up on sale in 2021. And to be completely honest, even on sale, I think I wasted money buying this game, and it hurts me to say this as a Sonic fan. It is tough for me to criticize my favorite game franchise, but I felt that it is necessary for this game in particular. So, let's go fast and dive into my experience with Sonic Forces. We need to discuss the trailer as it is essential to understand the premise of Sonic Forces. In summer 2016, Sega dropped the trailer for the new 3D Sonic game, and let me tell you, the stakes were high. Sonic Lost World and Sonic Boom had been very underwhelming for Sonic fans, and Sega had to do something to keep the fans excited. So, they dropped this trailer, and the big change is that the tone of this game is a lot more serious than previous games, trying to be as serious as the likes of Sonic 06 and Sonic Unleashed. Buildings were collapsing, Eggman robots were towering over the city, and whilst running through the ruined city, classic Sonic saves modern Sonic from a falling debris. All these elements make this era seem like a modern and refreshed Crisis City. This was promising, very promising even. Sonic was trying to be more ambitious with the setting, the tone, the writing. This 1-minute CGI trailer shows a lot of what this game could be. Along with the key tagline, "Join the Resistance," Sonic Forces was starting out really good. But 1 year later, we receive another trailer. This was an E3 gameplay trailer, and this was the time, more or less the time where I checked out for this game. Now I'm just going to say that the trailer was good on the surface, but dissecting it and analyzing it to its core, we see some issues. A, they only showed 4 stages, 1 for each of the Sonics and 2 for the customizable avatar. B, the majority of the trailer was CGI cutscenes that was meant to set the story. So this gameplay trailer was not really all gameplay. Seeing the trailer was one of the last main trailers before release was either really hype if you just looked at it from the surface, or underwhelming of a lack of what it showed. There were many cool concepts for the game: classic Sonic's return, a modern Crisis City, an actual serious tone, and returning bad guys like Chaos, and above all, a customizable avatar, a feature that fans have been requesting for years, to make their own OCs. And with all this, a few months later, Sonic Forces dropped, and 4 years later, I played it. Now, usually for the premise I talk about the first hour or so about the game, the intro, but in this case, I'll talk about the first 2 minutes, the first level. To be brief, so I can go over in more detail in the next sections, the game was on autopilot. I wasn't playing the game was playing me. The game was trying to make me believe that I was actually playing the game, when in reality, I was just pressing the square button with regular X button presses. And now, let's dive into the gameplay section of this game, man.
Everything they throw at us.
Try to see the positives in everything. So we'll start with the positive aspects of the gameplay. Modern Sonic, I guess, controls pretty well in this title. Not as good as in Generations Unleashed, but still pretty good. Boosting feels fine, and going fast feels great, as it usually does. Sadly, and I had to say this, are all the positives that I could find with Forces gameplay. Instead of continuing with the flaws in modern Sonic, I'll tackle the major issues that affect the whole gameplay first. First of all, the game is short, and by short I mean really, really short. I'm pretty sure even a short hike is longer than this, and the short hike is intentionally short, like it says in its title. There are 30 levels in the game that span across 4 or 5 different areas, meaning that many elements are going to be recycled for stages, including some levels only being boss fights. There are extra levels here as well, bonus stages, but they don't add anything to at all, like literally they're just filler. But why is this game so short? Well, that is the level's fault, really. All the levels can be beat on average between 1 and 2 minutes. I know Sonic is meant to go fast, but this is not fast. This is a short. Not because Sonic is fast. They're not long enough. Like, bro, Sonic Adventure 2 had levels that range from 4 to 5 minutes for your first try, and you get faster on subsequent runs. Here, your first try on any level could very much beat the world record time for that stage. There are more issues that affect the whole gameplay, and that is the difficulty. So, for controls, you have a few options. You can run with the left joystick, shift lanes with L1 and R1, jump with X, stomp or slide with circle, and boost with square, and triangle for whatever avatar moves you got. This is the usual stuff, but there are many key elements that are just simply missing. You cannot drift in this game. It's all done in pre-made CGI cutscenes. Furthermore, all characters control relatively the same, with no major differences between them. The wisps are all bland and they only work for the avatar, and there's no special gimmick move like the parkour in Lost World or the werehog in Unleashed. Everything is really simple. That's why replayability is non-existent, because it's so easy and dumbed down. Along with that, lives are gone. Instead, you instantly respawn to the previous checkpoint without consequence. You lose nothing at all. Along with that, coins are virtually useless, just being there for nostalgia, I guess. But these are all the overarching gameplay flaws that affect all three characters. But now let's dissect the characters individually. Modern Sonic, like I said, is the best part of the game. He controls well, and the flaws with Modern Sonic are a result from the overarching gameplay flaws. Other than the amount of blue wisp placements that make boosting literally non-rewarding because, becoming the only button you actually hold down when you're playing. This means that, well, they did a good job with Modern Sonic, as it is easier to fix overall gameplay rather than the individual character, from my view. So now for the other two, so let's go from best to worst, with both being bad. The Avatar is bad. He has a wisp cannon that has a predetermined ability, which can be a flamethrower or an electric whip or some other random stuff. I haven't tried them out because they didn't appeal, they weren't cool. It's a cool concept, but in the end it's poorly executed. These powers slow down the pace really, drastically, and aren't fun to use, as they try to be both slow and fast. The Lightning Wisp can do the light speed dash when near coins, but when he does the normal attack move, it's a whip that brings the Avatar to a complete stop. Other than that, the Avatar is basically Modern Sonic, just without the boost, making him a lot slower than him, and so much more infuriating, since they're all just small beat-em-up sections that make use of the Wisp Cannon. Overall, I really do dislike playing as the Avatar. But I dislike playing as Classic Sonic more than anything in this game. Classic Sonic by default makes this game a 3 out of 10. With the other aspects trying to salvage the damage this guy does. What's wrong with him? Well, for one, his acceleration is off the charts. Usain Bolt would want to have an acceleration like this, because he can go from a full stop to a full sprint within a second. And just it doesn't make sense. The sense of momentum is out of the window with this one, making many sections a chore to play. However, there is a difficulty spike when playing as Classic Sonic. Why? Because of platforming, and the wild way that his speed works. You will die a lot when you're playing as Classic Sonic, which makes it even more infuriating to play as him. Overall, the level design for the levels are short in general, but with Classic Sonic, they're also poorly made. Now, no, I'm done with talking about the gameplay now. We can look at the other aspects, and a positive thing is that the gameplay was the weakest area, mainly due to Classic Sonic.
None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's called war.
There was a lot of promise here. It looked like they were trying to go with a much darker tone than the 2010 Sonic era, but like I titled this segment, the atmosphere is really inconsistent. Green Hill is meant to be a post-apocalyptic depiction of this classic zone, but really it just looks like a bad part of Green Hill with sand sprinkled on it. The space station is completely out of place and is literally the second level. I would expect a level like this on this caliber to show up at the later stages of the game, which in turn shows the atmospheric inconsistencies. The Mystic Jungle, I have no clue how it fits in, and the only good thing about Mystic Jungle is that it has the infinite boss fight. Metropolis and Eggman Empire all grouped together because it's just a high-tech city. All these different zones are terribly linked and the continuation is not present, so you literally bounce between all of them throughout the game, which is at fault of the game's story, but still, there could have been better atmosphere links in the level design in the background or something. Even when you do return to the stages, you can see no change in them, even though the game says that you're saving more of the world. You could also have, like I said, you could have saved Green Hill in the opening levels, but in the final act, Green Hill looks exactly the same. But I did leave out one area, the city. The city is the best design area in the game, in terms of atmosphere as well as level design. Even with its level design, it has some flaws like all the other levels. For me, it gives a sort of Crisis City vibe, like I mentioned earlier, but that's just me. I think that it looks really pleasing, and running through it is really nice. Sonic games are meant to be adrenaline rides, feeling the action and everything, but that's not present here. For the most part, I'm on autopilot mode on the other stages, but in the city, I find myself relaxing for some reason. It sounds wild, but Sonic Team did a good job at making a war-torn city not feel like a war-torn place. But that's just me, personally, again. Visually, the game looks fine. Fine. Just fine. Nothing outstanding, or nothing terribly bad. Sonic's quills are shorter if that bothers you really, but really, the game does not have its own identity visually. There's no distinct sign like in 06 or Unleashed that both had distinct art direction. But yeah, overall it's just fine. But now one thing that is always guaranteed to be good in Sonic games. The music. Now the music for Forces is good. Just good. Nothing more, nothing less. The soundtrack has its great songs, but for the most part there aren't any grand epics that make you super pumped like Rooftop Run versus Nego Wisp 2, Metal Harbor, which makes the levels underwhelming to play through really. However, the soundtrack gets one thing right, listenability. The soundtrack is very techno and electronic based, and in turn, if set up right at a nightclub, you can have a good vibe to it. But for the most part, the drops don't fit well, and in the end, it's plain and simple good game music. A solid 7 out of 10. It's sad compared to previous Sonic soundtracks, so overall, the atmosphere tries its best to recover from all the damage that classic Sonic has done in terms of gameplay. But now for the story.
Oh, great! See, Infinite? Now we're getting to know each other. So, what's your favorite color? Do you like long, romantic walks on the beach? What's the source of your power? You can skip the first two questions if you like.
Forces seem to have an ambitious setup. If we're going to talk about it in basketball terms, they appear to have a clear layup to make the story fit with the atmosphere. But instead, they subbed off their man who was about to do the layup, replaced him with a golf player, and he for some reason decided to do a shot from half court to make it more difficult, and airballs it. That is how I describe Sonic Force's story, a failure to capitalize off the atmosphere. It seems that the writers, they didn't have any guts to write the story, unfortunately. It feels like maybe they were afraid of making the game too long for people to finish, so they cut out a lot of it. Right at the start, it is said that Sonic gets captured by Eggman. And then how could we envision a Sonicless world? Well, we get a simple text saying that the world is in shambles and that there is a resistance forming. That's it. Literally, bro, even Tails doesn't seem bothered that Sonic is gone. And one of the characters literally said that Tails is losing it. But really, Tails is just out there putting himself in more danger. I mean, maybe Tails actually did lose it because he's out there putting himself in more danger, even though that's something you shouldn't do. But that aside, and writing again, Sonic isn't even bothered that he's in Eggman's jail. He's just sitting there making bad jokes. The story is not well written, and if it were to be fully executed as maybe they had initially envisioned, this game would have had a lot more substance, which would lead to a lot more levels, and a longer game that I would actually get invested in. Until classic Sonic shows up. Okay, none of the characters here are written great, they're all just okay. Because there are so many characters in the game, but classic Sonic, boy does this man do something different. First he shows up out of nowhere, shrugs to Tails as why he actually is here, and disappears into nothing once the story is over. Sorry, that's a spoiler, but what? This guy literally gets conveniently famous at the end of the game. He is literally only here to serve nostalgia just because everyone loved him in generations. Classic Sonic should not have been in this game at all. As for the antagonists, we have Infinite. Instead of being okay written, or being badly justified like classic Sonic, he is poorly written. He's got a cool design, and I hope they bring him back with more of a personality and better dialogue, because really, his intentions and motivations were caused by an outright down bad reason. Eggman takes a back seat here really, and considering that it's actually called the Eggman Empire who's taken over the world, I really don't see that. He's not there. The only place where it looks like an actual war has happened is in Sunset Heights, the city section. So, all in all, this is probably one of the worst Sonic stories, sadly. And I don't say that lightly. There was a lot of ambition, I can see that, and I can give them credit for trying to, with the ambition. That could have taken the story to another level. A level that we haven't seen since Unleashed and 06, like an actual war setting. However, this is not the case. Characters aren't developed enough, and the story does not follow up with its promise. I didn't want to make a section about the DLC, but it needs to be highlighted, I feel. The DLC includes 2 things. 1, Episode Shadow, and 2, Supersonic. So let's talk about the good first. The DLC is completely free, literally, so if you felt like that you weren't getting enough out of the game, there is extra content that is free. Now for the bad. Episode Shadow is basically Sonic with a different skin, and the levels are slightly harder. Overall, it's 20 minutes long, and the best thing that came out of this was that we learned why Infinite was grumpy in this game and why he got his intentions. But yeah, Episode Shadow is just slightly harder than Sonic Forces for 1/4 of an hour. As for Supersonic, he isn't even in the base game, you have to download the power. This means that it completely takes away the reward aspect that Supersonic usually had, as you can simply download the DLC and there you go, you can become Supersonic. Short and to the point, the DLC is just very underwhelming.
Hey, right, that makes sense, I think. Do you know how you got here?
As you can tell, I am not a big fan of Sonic Forces for many reasons. Gameplay is bland and boring. Classic Sonic is literally just there. Characters are not developed to what they could have been, and the writing did not follow up with its atmosphere. All these aspects make Sonic Forces less than favorable, but there are some parts that help redeem this game. Modern Sonic controls quite well, although only a husk of his former self. The music is very good, but not as good as previous titles, and the avatar customization is fun, and the city level is really beautiful and designed level. However, these positives can't save it from the damage that has already been done, and this makes me sad. I had hopes for this game until a few months prior to release. Ultimately, if you want to play this game, I only recommend it if you want to play a mediocre Sonic game, so that you can learn for yourself what you actually want to see in a Sonic game. To cap off this review, there is one phrase that describes Sonic Forces to me, and that is simply put, painfully disappointing.
I guess all the explosions riled it up. Doesn't look like we'll get past without a fight.
Hey guys, we have reached the end of another Storm experience, and as you can tell, I did not enjoy this game as much as I had hoped. And as a lifelong Sonic fan, I hope that Sonic Frontiers turns out better, and I'm confident to say that I actually think Sonic Frontiers will turn out better than Sonic Forces. But yeah, next week Friday's video will be the second essay type video on this channel about what makes anything iconic. So yeah, I hope you'll stick around for that. So to finish off, leaving a like, comment, or subscribe, they all mean a lot, and yeah, now I'm off. Hope I didn't take away too much time from your day, so adios and Storm out.